Choda Soja, Jobado, Tane Soja. Tayo Chujinjebe, Zonanje, and Tola Benja, Sanje, Jodan,
Jordan Soke Chonam, Janju Badu, Dagni Gapsuti, Dagi Chanin, Gipes or Namki, Tola Benja, Sanje, Jopar,
Sanje, Chodan Soja,
Sonam, Janju
Bado, Tane Soja, and Taji
Children,
Chujinjebe,
Gipes of Namki,
Tola
Jordan
Benja,
Benja,
Sanje,
Jopar,
Sanje, Chodan.
Jordan Soke Chonam, Janju Badu, Dagni Gapsuti, Dagi Chanin, Gipes of Namki, Jordan Benja, Sanje, Jopar,
Dayata, Gade,
Gate para sum gate body swaha.
Dayanta,
Gate para sum gate body swaha.
Dayanta,
Dayata gate para sum gate body swaha.
Ola so da semja tamje ga to tobja lana ma che ba sanje yo ko ma ren mo je chin ne yo to ba cha en di che do en be chang ju sem be lab jana en ji shi de nyang to ma la ta ben to di che do en be nyang to lang yin lang wa le xian ba le to ba le to ji shu ma no wa chi ko de an ka so ba ba de ke se che mo shi wa la ge se be jun ju ge ten de zhe chi bi ni yin sam che.
We begin by setting our motivation to do whatever we possibly can to attain the purest state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, knowing that to attain such a state, I must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. And really, I have no choice, really, but there is no other way but to perfect all those trainings. And to perfect those trainings, I need to have a thorough understanding of what they are about. And to gain this understanding, I must be able to depend upon an unmistaken source, an unmistaken texts. And so it is with this in mind that I have the opportunity this morning, to listen to just such a text, the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, as composed by the great master Shantideva. And as usual, then we set up the object for our focus throughout this teaching, the merit field, which comprises of our own, in essence, our own root guru, in aspect, the one of skillful means and great compassion, the Guru Munindra Shakyamuni Buddha.
Ane rangi tago doya, ane rangla dinche, ta kata tsedi pama ne jibata, tsedi pama tse ngama, di ngama jib, tuma meba rangi dinche jawe, ane pama tamche, dona, ane kamsumje, simje tamche, masawa meba rangi tago doyo, samsamche.
And all around us are beginning with our parents of this life and going to our parents of a previous life and the life previous to this one, and so on back to beginningless time, wherein we have countless parents, kind mothers since beginningless time, and also that all of the denizens and those who are residing in the three realms of existence are also present all around us.
Ani tene kasate rangi dungi nangala sayatawe lama tuba ongpo ani chiwa ongkabo, jamba amabo, tuga hongbo yigi sumja sayatawa. Tuga hongle wesa padu meba chone, shing ramja nebe, ani kasa ishiba ongla da chaba chantane, ishiba de lama tuba ongpo namba chantane time. Ongle ongkur, chui lama chizo nebale, ani mijiba ujente kanche. Da wata ishiba ngos shucha, wata ndere yu samsache.
In the space in front of us, the figure of Shakyamuni that we are visualizing, we see is marked by 3 syllables, Om at the crown, A at the throat, and then Hung at the heart center. And from that Hung at the heart center, light rays emanate, and they go out into the pure realms, inviting back the wisdom beings and the empowering deities therein, so that the wisdom beings dissolve directly into the central figure. The empowering deities confer the nectar of empowerment, some of which overflows at the crown, spontaneously producing the figure of Akshobhya.
Lama Tubia Ombo, the Yeshiva was Shunchen, and Lama Tubia Ombo, and the Caso the Yunden, the Kuson to Yungeti Jambache, and Ranchi Batamja, Shenchi was a Kuna Tujishivan Yirim, Panta Mata Tamja doing second. The Ganish Naranzutona, Tuki, Naranzutona, Lamla, Naranzutona, Obaza was signed Java Indege, Motobachen, what did it, and it didn't what did it, and the Ranga Tagodi was some jet. Tamja randa kokona swatch dewa de dewa mituba dungere de dunge jigje jigne ne yongde what de the labotuba onbo mibe da da wa yise de wa ngodo de ba la so yo ba che an ranga tagoni ba semje de da da mi ne ani de da ge ani dunge da de du ge ningje dewa de du ge jamba what de je kan tu be ani ge what de che
And so we really start to recall the qualities of an enlightened being, the qualities of body, speech, and mind, enlightened activity, how sentient, the enlightened being has no fear of suffering in relation to himself, is expert at removing the fear of suffering from others, who works with great compassion without bias for all, and who works to benefit all without ever thinking of any benefit in return. We have that the enlightened mind also has set out by generating the mind of enlightenment purely for our sake, for the benefit of all. Therefore, all of us has therefore developed that mind along the path for us solely, and generated that mind of enlightenment. Full and complete enlightenment purely for us as well. And so we have this sense of faith, and that all the sentient beings all around us have so much desire, a happiness that they are completely deprived of, and so much desire to have an end to the suffering that they are inundated with, going from really like one suffering to the other continuously. And they also have this sense of faith in the triple faith that we have towards the central figure in the merit field, that pure faith, the faith of conviction and manifest faith. And we, in focusing upon all these sentient beings, wish how they could be completely freed from suffering on the one hand, and developing that sense of compassion, and also how they could be enjoy the happiness and that sense of developing as much as you possibly can, that sense of loving affection.
Simjala mibe ningje what the legend comjen and data tamja and dewa the deveju the then chimoro demba shuje demba tagi so compassion then the data the dunga the tungi the jana chimoro dewa juje dewa short dewa tagi samsal what that has him dan sing simja data tamja and dewa the deveju the mijawa short and mijawa 다그치게 대다체는 라마 투표 징글랍도 세를 공부해도 다 소소 제가 줘도 원래 다 제가 줘도 다 된대지 용화라 일이 차단을 제가 좀 매번 용해 매번 인사 아니 일이 차단을 제가 다녀는 심어로 내가 주제 내가 쇼제 내가 다그치게 대다체는 라마 투표 징글랍도 공부해.
So focusing on the Buddha with that faith, and on sentient beings with the mind of compassion. We think how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness, and the causes of happiness, may they have that happiness. I will see to it that it is the case. That's just generating that sense of special intention. And oh Guru Deity, please bless me to make this so. How wonderful if all sentient beings could be freed from suffering and the cause of suffering. And may that be the case. I will see to it that it is. Oh Guru Deity, please bless me to make this so. And really thinking also how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had the happiness that knows no suffering and the excellent bliss of liberation. May this be the case. I will see to it, generating that mind of special intention, O Guru Deity. Please bless me to make this so. And so we make these exhortations and supplications, but we realize that with the mind of kind of a discriminating attitude of bias, of whereby we have, this kind of like a bias towards those we like, and then the bias against those who we dislike, is never going to kind of facilitate the generation of those three mindsets that we have been developing thus far. Thereby, we need to also make a supplication for equanimity. How wonderful if all sentient beings could abide in equanimity, free from the attachment and anger that holds some close and others distant, and may that be the case. I will see to it that is the case for myself. O Guru Deity, please bless me to make this so.
Gota, then comba shavala, then Lama Tuba Kule to Zenanga Vesa the Chavapone, Vesa Kabu Shecha, Randa Ranga to Simja Tantra, Chibone, Mashuala, and the Toma Diva the Tibachi, the Kabatuya, and the Temeshigi. And the Chicas of the Tobajavala Padu, Tiba the Tibatica, Nani, just some such.
And so as a result of making these supplications, the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha is moved, and the 5 colored nectar lights begin to emanate from the heart center, going in through the crowns of myself and all other sentient beings, with the white light predominant, and hereby removing all of the obstacles such as the obscurations and negativities that we have accumulated since beginning this time in general, but particularly all the obscurations and obstacles to our being able to generate the 4 immeasurable thoughts as realization.
And then I just saw out of the Javala, Lama to be on Bokula, to Zenanga Vesa, Jumban, we said thoughts, several showers upon it, and Lama to be on the 2 Yuba, and the tower to Semeshika Toba, Yobachita Washington, and Rangula Gay, but never Kawaja Shasu, sons of Compassion. You want you to the young, never Kawaja Shasu, sons of the Compassion.
And again, we see that the 5 colored nectar lights emanate from the heart center of the Shakyamuni Buddha and enter into the crowns of myself and all other sentient beings all around, this time with the golden yellow light predominant. And this by really the bestowing sense of light, so that here we are bestowed with this feeling that we have this special facilitating potential to really generate the 4 immeasurable thoughts as realization, and we really rejoice in this.
What the listen, Takanja, Simja Tamja, and Dewata. Dunga the Tendu Ninja, the what Tendu Jamba. What are the leisure to that? Simja Tamja Dunga Tamja the Java Netching, the what Tamja the Netching is that's also Haxam can Jagato do, and Simja Tamja Shana, Simja Chigia, and the what Tamja, the Dunga Tamja the Java Chema to what the Seburwa. That then they Javala and it Simja come down, Meva, Palanya, Chita, she the Kingo, Timajabaina, and the Panto to the Kabush Jimbari. And then the Langdog and Nechinji Malo was Tengo, Teshingo, Tembala, Rangi Shingo, Rangi Machina, Shella Tentu Marwa, and Rangi Shemba in a Tuje come the Meva Balanya Chida, Majabaina, Tabla Majaba Chato. That Pengusa, New Egg Yore. That the names are the nigger Rangi and Netu Takas the nigger Tabata Tamja about to Vega, and the Netu Chida was the Kava Rangi want to go to, and then you are that Sanjay Goma Matona Tamantua. DJ Dush, Dunje, Langdog and Netty. 랑도 내 친지 말로바 때다. 다들 산재 고마 마도는 탐매바 인사. 왔다 산재 고마 마도는 탐매도 때 두바 지기 서서 공부하자. 아니 대 두배체도 산재 고마 두발라 아니 계세가 줘발라고. 계세가 줘발라발다. 근데 계세가 줘배 슝게보다보다 준주적으로 맞잖아 탐매되는 지금 인사 아니 대 슝데 고마 대체도 얘기 인삼사전 아니 라마 두배 뭐 검시만 하는 공부하자.
And so this aspiration really that we have, praying, supplicating for these four immeasurables of wanting all sentient beings to have that happiness, so that sense of love, wanting to bestow happiness and for them to generate that happiness. And on the other hand, the compassion that wants them to be free from suffering is, of course, when we go through the supplication process, we reach that sense of I will be the one to be able to do this. We're talking here about a special intention, special motivation of really kind of determining, kind of like really almost vowing that we will enter and do this ourselves. But of course, we're also painfully aware of our limitations, that even for one sentient being, a state where we really are aware of the disposition of each sentient being, their background, karmic implications, and so on, how we must be able to advise what they must take on in terms of their behavioral changes and practices, and then also what they must abandon in terms of their behavior and practices and so on. And even like if we have that, we don't have the skillful means to be able to put that across so that it really counts. So, when we look into the process of reaching liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment, we very quickly realize that it's only from that point of view, from the point of view of enlightenment, that you have all of the expertise is pointed out, and the ability to be able to kind of understand unmistakingly of what to do, how to advise, or what to advise in terms of what to take up and what to leave down, and so on, in terms of practices, etc., etc. And so we therefore, really reassert the absolute necessity of us attaining that state of enlightenment. Why? Because we need to be of that kind, that level of benefit for sentient beings, all sentient beings. And so therefore, when we are kind of like attending a teaching like this, we of course realize that we must gain the necessary information to be able to proceed along such a path to that state of enlightenment. And that means really training in the activities of the children of the conquerors, as it said. That means the Bodhisattva activities. And of course, this is the very subject matter of the Bodhisattva's way of life. And so therefore, we are in the right place at the right time, ready to really listen to a teaching from this wonderful text. And so we generate that sense of encouragement and delight in our minds to be able to do this, and also being fully aware that we are in the presence of the Buddha, as we have visualized in the space in front while we are listening. Shoktrang gyatang dunju donga sumba de takidrala lekpa chebala trova gakpala som.
Konchok sikinde, ane Geshe choba labken la, ane ta gek cheshu di chatik yore. Ta Geshe ke choba labla malabla, misu yinba yine digi dugu, dungen dugu yo mare. Konchok kia sato nga kibu de sikin sukan yo mare. Narwa, kibu mayan zang, ane Konchok kibu yorwa. 그러나 소수 대배 돈다지 마주 인상 컨트롤 기가 요. 아니 컨트롤 기가 때는 소수 기부 차가 요선 차가 요 말이야. 그러나 차가 매받은 가서 용해 좀 되겠지. 이내다 몽배 온게 컨트롤 사운드 아니 소수를 팽규에 나와 차네. 차되게 요한테 가서 몽배 투표 온거 용되기도 와. 어때래? 다들 이 말자. 아니 컨트롤 가서래. 컨트롤 사단을 리그민다 몽배 뭐 있어. 아니 계속 전부라게 계속 전부 시원하게 아니 저기 가서다 초망분에 아니 삼로 따네 아니 초망분에 아니 말아서 컨트롤 사세게 초망부지요 맞아 되네 건강에 아니 제바 제잖아 타고 리고 나잖아 아니 안텔스 컨트롤 사는 지금도 선에 아니 거기 컨트롤 견적 되나기도 견적 되나기도 와 그래 다 간절 말아서 그 지금 몇바퀴 견적하나 너밖에 매버 쏘고 요나 너밖에 매버 쏘야 지도 먼저 컨트롤사가 열어 봐 아니 컨트롤사 발라 때는 너밖에 매버 차고 열선 차고 요 말이야 차고 요 말. 가서 더 탑을 맞게 봐 차고 와 근데 이면서 라라 너밖에 그 다스게 매버 쏘고 요나 디 매버 쏘와라 아니 가르고 그래서 소소 디 매버 쏘야 게 아니 매버 쏘당 아니 가서 다 간제 근데 내가 얘기했는데 뭐냐고 얘기하네 탑 약수도 가르샤 근데 이 애는 롭종 전에 학고바 제국도 학고바 전에 롭종 전에 소소 심바 전에 와서라 심바 전에 아니 되네 대다 튀면 돈에 너보다 뭐야 탑시 제국도 디만도 가서 된데게 탑시 문에디 롭종 맞아 제 아니 지금 너가 기능 전 남냐 컨트롤산 되는 다 컨트롤 사와라 때네 아니 너바데 매바 차고인데 야고 시부절데 매바 차고요 말을 아니 컨트롤 사와라 때네 아니 들라 때네 아니 내가 위네 소소 셈마기 받아 지기 아니 무트네 된데게 너바 계긴데 아니 무트는 영역에 교치 좀 되기도 와 로아다 교치 좀 되기도 와 두다다 너바 계긴 되라 때네 아니 컨트롤 사와라 때네 다 아니 지금 가서다 샬라다 세바다 두발라 소바다 남에게 저번에 손을 깨트려 아니 제가 주되다 녀와 주되다 tin두게 아니 미르데 슬라바이는 컨트롤 사고 차트에 아니 라라 무트는 컨트롤 라게 예대에 로아 어다 된데게 아니 무트는 컨트롤 주게 아니 다도 처럼나 봐도 아니 강에 제가 주지 좀 더 되기도 와. 그 가르쳐서 아니 된데게 아니 라라 너바케게 다데 매바 소에게 탑식 문에도 마시 말 때는 용 되기도 와. 다때는 탑식 문에도 신고도 로종 전에 신고도 와. 대신 배쳐다 시원하게 말대셔만 뭐 교난기도 와.
And so in this chapter, chapter 6 on patience, you see the really profound expertise of Master Shantideva in continuously, again and again, coming from every direction, outlining the problem of anger. And that anger is that which is really one of the biggest obstacles to our being able to attain the state of enlightenment. And that here, you can see that if one is, when one is unable to attain what one wants, that brings forth that frustration, that anger. But even in the state of anger, even if we get what we want, we're still not happy. And so anger is a very dominant and kind of pervasive and insidious state of mind that is completely contrary to any development along the path to enlightenment. And so this is the point that the Shantideva is bringing about through examining the issue from so many different directions. And so it's kind of really showing how, it's through ignorance that we choose anger, thinking that it's going to get us what we want or to rectify this situation. But it only drops us into further problems and further issues. And so it's a mistaken way of thinking. And this is the point that Master Shantideva is kind of really hammering in again and again, so that we really get this point, so that when we really understand this from so many different angles, and then we are free to analyze what is being presented and then to really see on the one hand that yes, anger is never a good choice. It is always a mistaken problem. It is something which is a great fault, and that it is something that will not eradicate our enemy. It will only lead to more anger and more prevalence for anger as well. It's that which feeds on itself, and there is no fulfillment of anything that is completed with a mind of anger. And so this is kind of to really understand that for each of us, that this is the way it is, and to kind of understand how it is then that we can avoid the mind kind of arising in this kind of such an unhealthy state. So what is the best means of being able to avoid getting angry or getting frustrated, avoiding anger, and so on? So this requires then that we study the points that are being presented here and elsewhere, and that then we can choose, what are the best means that apply to my life, my way of thinking, and then to apply them into our daily life. This is so important. And so this is the kind of way that we can avoid, the suffering that comes with anger. But if we don't, then we can only kind of look forward to, anger being something which is very prevalent in our lives continuously. It will arise, it will destroy any temporary sense of peace of mind that we may have. But worse than that, it lays down the causes for continuous suffering into the future. And when we, are angry, we will engage in harm, whether it's to ourselves or to others. That could involve hitting or killing even. And of course, this is going to come out in the ripening effects and all the karmic fruitional effects related to that cause. And so it may be that we are born into a very unfortunate state of existence as the ripening effect. But of course, we're going to be kind of really burdened with both the propensity to repeat these actions again and again, the frequency of which will increase the more we do it. So we're likely to hit and kill again in reaction. But even more than that, we are likely to be killed and hit again, because we've put ourselves into that atmosphere of anger again and again. So these are part of the karmic effects of laying down causes based on an action motivated by anger. And so we have to be able to kind of really understand that when we talk about, overcoming an enemy through anger, through our situation, through anger, it's kind of like that's based on a misunderstanding. It's a state of ignorance as to we really don't know, the terrible implications of our actions with that state of mind. And so we really then are kind of motivated to really listen to what the kind of the faults of anger are, and then to kind of say, okay, I need to avoid that state of mind if I am to avoid suffering. And what is the best way of being able to do that for me?
Tanda kombulutuke kasa dana kasa dabo sinu deba yi dani yuande nidu gyursa dabo sinu deba san dabo sildu neba dabo nuba chungda dana dabo meba soya deba yoba ina ane dendege deba yugen gansa de rani yuande da demba chigurasa rani soso ane ba dabo de nuba jem haduwe never meba soyeke tap시 약슈의 만화한테 심하지 그랬어. 순구도. 잡고 쓰는 대화에 단위 연대 니도 줬어. 잡고 쓰도 넘버 되게 잡고 쓰도 잡고 네가 충도 된 잡고 매바 소여게 대화 요게 문에 짐바 있나? 아니 소소 아니 자대 매바 소여게 무유다 내주 때문에 아니 연대한테 하고 그랬어. 신인데 심하지 그랬어. 근데 그 신인데 심바 맞아 봤잖아. 내심 연배 지자 콜라 네바 제도가 삼바 냠바지 개바 디카리 팬도 그랬어. 개개 팬도가 말했어. 덴데가 삼바 냠바지 개바이나 가서 덴데 다녀 잘라미스. 덴데 삼바 냠바지 개바데 소소로 누구래마다 잘라 가야 누구 말했어. 어디를 숨고도
So again, I was quoting a verse from Arya Nagarjuna, the great master Nagarjuna, wherein he is contemplating on if one has the desire to destroy one's enemy, to overcome one's enemy, and we must understand what the best means of being able to do this is. And if we imagine that harm, that a malicious intent should be any part of this, then we have to question what benefit is there in that at all? That it will only harm oneself, it will not have any impact on our enemy.
Today, Tendig, social never taking nega with ta, and then was a Tameo Talagi in a ta. Penataduge, ta, and Yomoto Sula Chagi in a ta, can't tat them ever so yellow, so Magawa and then a pendogumatua. This social negutimento. Ta Cartina social tat never so yellow. Yende, we need to be Yende, the Shiba channel, Lopsum channel, Hakoba channel, and Casa the Tat never so that she would rest. Tat never so that she would. What I'm going to need to Tibatona, and it Casa the Tapchi Janeta, Tat Yende, the Shiba ina, and it never came out about the Soturua. That Dimbajan, that Dimagawaja, Makiba Jabaina, the Kikal Pantomaris, Sosola Pengamare. And the tag never my only finger by never mounted to it. And so that don't might give a mount to a YouTube take it to. Then the Tala nurse that the niggas somebody about channel might give a channel, Condos on the Devina, this social negative the Tala and the Kaya Maris. What that love the chamber thought is love the chamber. That you then she says that she gets a chair she will like it, and she said, Tamangboot and what that Condos on a Madu and Gasa de Magic Wigeta, Ripa Mambutan, Sungutuata, to get the Lobjon Channel and Lion Katuachi, Sungu.
And so, this verse is really looking into, for example, the contrast between, or the comparison as well, of course, between one's temporary enemy here, one's mundane enemy, worldly enemy, versus the ultimate enemy. So Master Nagarjuna is pointing out here the ultimate enemy is, of course, the three poisonous attitudes of attachment, aversion, and ignorance. And so what is really going on here is to kind of say there has to be this understanding of that any unhappiness or any dislike that arises in relation to that temporary mundane enemy is futile, is of no benefit whatsoever. It in fact only will increase the harm that you perceive. And so here it only harms ourselves. It has no impact on the enemy, that even mundane enemy. So we must kind of realize that that is an idiotic kind of reaction, and we must therefore seek or say, what is the best means then to be able to overcome the enemy? And so here we have to understand reality, the actuality of the situation. We have to train our mind to overcome attachment, aversion, and ignorance. And by doing so, that is the way that we overcome enemies, both mundane and ultimate. And this is the way in which we can do it. And this is why also Master Shantideva is really dealing with the topic of anger and so thoroughly and coming at it from so many different angles, so that we learn that the normal kind of way in which we have been doing business with anger is just as futile and just as pointless, and creating more grief for ourselves and not having any impact on our enemies. And therefore, we must actually also ascertain what is the best means of being able to overcome the harm that we perceive. And that is to be able to overcome our own attachment, aversion, and ignorance. And that means we deal with it at the ultimate level and do not concern ourselves by getting upset or generating dislike or unhappiness in relation to all of the untoward kind of things that arise for us in life.
단단 먼저 컨트롤사나 아니 가서 생각수 내밖에와나 아니 컨트롤사 내심 견이 되다가 내심 견와 되게 소소로 내거리면 달라 내고 말이야 숨고도가 다 되네 힘도 아니 라야 다이 쳐차기도가 소소 다이 잡죠 차그러면 소소 내밖에 되나 다이 로바 차버와 이게 소소 밴 도고 요 정도 때 뭔가 말이 배 온게 아니 다이 로바 차도고도가 좋아.
And so, when we choose anger, when we support this, even a kind of that malicious intent, you're still operating at the mental level, and you have this kind of malicious attitude, it's not going to make a shred of difference to your enemy. And in fact, what you are doing is supporting your enemy's cause. It's really, saying that they are, through your own ignorance, you're supporting what they want to happen. For you to get angry and to develop this unhappy state of mind.
So daddy, when social same thing that Magagana, so Maggie but dead and a cock.
And so when the enemy sees that you are, so kind of pent up, so unhappy, so bitter, they can gain some joy out of that. They can say, oh yeah, so what I have done has worked. They're miserable now. And doesn't have to pay for this to happen or anything else, to do any work or anything else that you've been rendered unhappy.
And the nega mare tangazo lendega tonata salam magiba chai jutum jogdwa.
And so, this is not just a temporary kind of like a incident that is going on here. This is just something that has been continuing on since beginning this time. We put it into its cause and effect karmic context. And so it really behoves us to kind of seek a better response to these situations, an unmistaken response.
Sumba dagi as a tala lebache sumba dagi tala lebache wala toa kabala sumsa tala tebatan tala tebatan tala tebata tabal tubala soba pangwa kasa misuwa pangwa chikwanta misuwa pangwa re tango so magasa tila ani chige yakure johnson ani chadwa cha magawa chigirwa Without Magana Madiva Korsungudwa, Rata, Pigate the successful Juana, and so Magawa Yugurwa. Tico, that Tamia was there, Tamia was in the Munet and so pengu you made the Mashibachetin, Yomogi, Shawanda Juna, and Pembe now chatting Yorata, Tubia Wongi, Yomo, Tubia Wongi, what the Tenza, Tala Tubata, Tash la Misha Bachi Kabocha, Turetawa, Uncle Magiba Chagde. And quite get at Chambachana Magawa Chabala. And then Miss that same Sumadu Yonguru Letangwala. And then Miss Chijoma, Miss Pangbacha. And then there were to Bala Miss Rata, the Tigil Miss Yongurata, Miss Pangba. And right near Bata, the 2 years out in the Trusona, near to Bata, La Miss Pangba was Sumcha. That Tambula Nichen, Tadela, Tubata, Chabal to Bala Miss Pangbatilla. Ran deve ju imbe de riba shen deve ju imbe midoba miriba watch.
And so this third heading reads that we must put a stop to anger because our enemy is doing good, is kind of like is benefited. And this is the 3 subheadings. And the first is that we should abandon impatience when our enemy is praised or gains renown. And that again, is pointing out, yeah, how silly it is, for us to get angry in a situation like that, to have that sort of jealousy when our enemy is successful, that it makes us, feel bad, and we resent it, and so on and so on. How idiotic that is. And that is kind of like, that's the way of the ordinary being, where that ignorance that we're kind of shackled with kind of throws up the mistaken response that we should have in any situation like that. And the second of the subheadings is that we should overcome and abandon impatience for when our enemy is happy. And thirdly, we should abandon impatience when our enemy receives material gain, a windfall. And so the first of these has, again, 2 subheadings. And the first of these, again, is that one about overcoming, not being impatient when our enemy is praised or is gains renown. This has two points to it. The first is that we should accept that what is happening for our enemy, because it should also be a cause of happiness for ourselves. Secondly, because it is a cause of happiness for others, it is incorrect not to accept it. And so with regard to the first of these, that is that we should accept what's happening for our enemy, because it should be a cause of our own happiness. Verses number 76 and 77, look at this outline. 76 and 77. Should someone else find joyous happiness upon praising my enemy as an excellent person, why, mind, do you not praise him too, and likewise make yourself happy? That joyous happiness of yours would be a source of joy, not something prohibited, a precept given by the excellent ones, and a supreme means for assembling others.
Teno share sa tene kede tebabo deni yi kawe dewa toba ina tebabo deli yi kawa ke dewa toba na rangi yi kyo jang rangi esa yi kyo jang ni dade tene sosu ke semne ne an dade le teba che an ko yabu desa yabu yinba haku ni jesu yiran che cheba ina sosu le an jikaza kawa kore sosu le digi yongurwa tene chi che dade kawa mi che kajan mi che de ko yende yoba tele che na kawa mi che de 대다 제바이나 표지 생계 연대를 가वे 대화대 마음반의 대회 중에 오다 로다 딜레데나 소소 녀모 연구부도 녀모 마존에 아니 생계 때 가서 야보 중화들 제수 일하다 된대잖아 마음반의 소소는 된대 용의 주주부도 기변도 된대 인사 마음반의 대회 중에 카나마토와 매바 된대 연구에서 매버서 연대다 대만 남제산다 문에 전에 비부 다지 기부 담바 속에 原来的嘛，基本当把所个的，这个说的，他这个说的，这个的了，他这个说的，他刚才这那个查大个了，南京呢，哪把这个话说，我他这个的。这个没想到个，这个说的，他这个说的，搞不起来的，美国也不打的，那搞不起来了，我把他就在先对个他超讲一诺是，没想到就在他对了美国的呢，快也不用一个他企业的，对用过了，对的，这个也不结完了，也不这个都是来呢，结束一两天呢，说出来，朋友上，忙把说出来的也不用一个。提用过了吧？大家呢，马嘎吧，现在抗战相关的呢，说来，独家有人绝对做这个多。对吧？是我什么叫鸟梦给了鸟梦是的话，接来话让举了这个水举了结完的旁边这个多，这了那把这个多，咱鸟梦没把这给外超级给完以呢，的点的电话了做一个，就是主播个多，我就送过去吧，我这里讲，
So this is a situation where another person is espousing the good qualities of your enemy. And so they're saying this person is doing very well, it's got this quality and so on. And this makes that person who is doing the praising also happy for doing it. And so what Master Shantideva is here is then why aren't you happy for the praise that is also being showered upon your enemy? It is, you really should take rejoice in all good qualities. And so it's saying that it's very important because when you can, engage in such joyous happiness. So we're talking about here the practice of rejoicing, which is an actual practice in itself that one can practice and generate, the corresponding virtuous causes. And say when you can do that, it is not only a quality that is highly praised by holy beings from the past as a faultless, those who have faultless qualities. It's also said to be a very good way of accumulating disciples, bringing people together because they see the good example that you are showing, and that it is a good point. And so to take that side of things as opposed to generating resentment and jealousy and dislike and so on, of kind of dismissing that which is the words that are being used to praise your enemy. Because when you engage in that sort of mental affliction and that sort of ignorance, it of course is going to lay down the corresponding causes that will cause you great misery continuously into the future. And so what we're talking about here is laying down the wiser causes of rejoicing in the good qualities of others and taking part in the joy that it brings when others are praised, even if they are your enemy. And so that's kind of like making sure that we are responding on the side of virtue.
我的他感觉这说出个这个先给先了原点通的，说出了这个600几个呢，600几个的原点的，先把钱呢，先给搞完了先，如果的对原点去搞完结完呢，让给原点去就搞完结头把结果这是，现在结完以呢，就告诉他这个。如果鸟毛了，看的也我在差多个了，明显了，美国也我在差多个了是。如果这个这边看那么多，让些看那么多，曾经基本当不出个谁呢？个谁呢？告诉的，对吧？那么这，我他的也我是我把这个预测个了哇，我把这个预测的，我他的别也我鸟毛个想法都马上把真的别打这个，我那真的告诉的，绝对也不得了，告诉的。对大概我不去过的，是吧？对家先对呗，但对家先对拉面包了马上个这个告诉的，对呗？他讲特别差这个多，是吧？但是我就照当讲了，说马干了就来根据钱， 다 어느 마가와 아니 지금 연대 전에 수수 마기바 전대 아니 어거 지금 미국 약고 좀 말아 봐. 로아단 로아 되게 현대에 탑 약고 말아 봐. 탑 약고 마보 말아 봐. 와다 된대 저는 되게 현대에 탑 약고 제 차주고도 초대네 삼로 담아 있네. 어떤지라도
So
호텔.
here we really are, it's that choice we make to respond or react. And so when we react to our enemy or the one that we dislike being praised by another, we are, kind of choosing dislike. We're choosing to criticize and be, add to the store of unhappiness. And of course, that is never a good look. That is never a good example. And what we are being urged to do here is to take a more considered response to that kind of situation, and to be able to appreciate the goodness wherever it arises, especially if it is that which is, resident within those you dislike and resident in your enemy, as it says here. And so here, to be able to like that, to see that goodness, to appreciate that, is something that is praiseworthy, is saying here, that even the great beings of the past, highly appreciate that and really value that kind of quality. Why? Because it is a very direct opposition to mental affliction, and it is a great example for others to see. And that's why they call it you become an object of praise in that sense. And so you're making that unmistaken choice between two courses of action, and you're choosing the side of virtue.
Also, 다가리제 답변은 숑디 자주 선배게 아니 저배 냠내 제 숑지래. 근데 이번 인자 아니 다지 장주 대과 첨배 출了매봐 이거 대과 첨배 냠내 제가 정관에 샤바 인바이나 아니 심지어 탐제라. 아니 지금 대화 탐제는 대화 지금 동해 탐제들 저와 지금 가사 정관에 삼로 담바이나 아니 저 라라 녀바 기간절라 디기 주나 디 가와게 고지로 가르스나 대화 탐제 대화 지금 있어 그래. 내가 그 대화 된대제 대화대 오늘 저는 소수의 대화도 준토바 제고다 소수 좀 먹어와 가사 코랑인 거네 대화도 줍토바 야는 생게 대화 된대제 주변에 차전 저는 가사들 대화도 중 여봐 이나 소수의 제수 이나지 오늘 저는 예 제고야 되는데 네 가사 코랑게 뭐네 다 야는 생게 뭐네 안 대화도 준토바 중사 어때 야부 중사 삼사 가 공부해 그러면도 안들라 막아와 제고데 대화前面 냠내 지금 지나 그 용사 코라 매야 되겠죠.
And so from another point of view, of course, this text is the Bodhisattva's way of life. It is espousing the practices of what it should be for a Mahayana practitioner. You've generated that mind of enlightenment, you're putting it into practice through the Bodhisattva actions and activities. And of course, the focus and the object for a Bodhisattva is the bringing of happiness to all sentient beings, the removal of suffering from all sentient beings. And that means without exception. And so here, if, that's the kind of job or the obligation of a Bodhisattva, somebody on the Mahayana vehicle path. So therefore, if somebody else is bringing happiness to an enemy through praising them, they're doing the job. They're experiencing happiness, and so it's taking some of the burden off of me. Because it's my obligation actually to make them happy and to remove their suffering, and so they're already experiencing that happiness. That has to be a good thing from the Mahayana point of view. So we should rejoice. It's the only logical response in that situation, that rejoice. One is that they're experiencing happy. Two is that, that they're doing my job for me. They're really doing something good. Whereas, that if we choose to dislike that, it's not only negativity in relation to the karmic context, but it is completely at odds with the Mahayana ideal and our bodhicitta intention. And so we kind of see it's no part of kind of Mahayana vehicle practice whatsoever. And so it's very, very good if they're doing for themselves what we are obliged to do for them. And so it's if others are praising the good qualities, their good qualities, I should rejoice in those good qualities.
다들 이마자 간제 소소로 네바 개겐데 소소로 팬토바지 팬토고 여바다 삼로지 땅 마토바이나 아니 디게도 용되게 소소로 네바 개바데 소소로 팬토고 여바다 삼로지 코도나 아니 딜라 디게 주나 마가와도 용고 말이야 딜라 디게 중하다 딜라 저 소소로 네바 개겐데라 아니 저 되베 돈다 도스도 소소 마가와 용 차도 사이에 디게 네바 개바도 소소로 팬고 여바도 뭐 마저고 봐도 용두고 말이야 디게 네바 개바도 소소로 팬토고 여바도 뭐지 최소나 아니 소소 다인 삼사 삼로도 여마 녜인 삼사 삼로도 용거로 와 딜라 때네 딜라 디게 중하이나 소소로 가나 용거래 그러와 딜라 미데바 중하이나 소소로 마기바 용거래 그러와 다 소소로 디 네바 개바도 소소로 지금 팬토고 여바도 하 먹어 딩가는 네바 개도 삼사 삼로도 커바이나 삼로도 커베링라 아니 딜라 디게 중나 마가 용거래 딜라 동네 주나 가부 용거래
So this attitude kind of like it kind of reaches the point where you have this kind of nominal enemy out there, but that now you're able to see how beneficial that enemy can be. Therefore, that we can't generate dislike for their happiness. They are somebody who is incredibly beneficial to me. And so if they are happy, I can no longer kind of like, indulge in unhappiness or jealousy or anything like that. That I must rejoice in them. It's merely recognizing one's enemy as beneficial to the point where they no longer get the label enemy, but in fact they become a close friend because you can see how beneficial they are to you. And so this is to the point that when they experience something undesirable, or unfortunate, you feel it. You feel unhappy for them. That's the way you reach that point, as opposed to the opposite. Now where we dislike when something good happens to our enemy, we are jealous of it, we kind of resent it, and we rejoice when something bad happens to our enemy. So this is where we have to swap those two situations around.
어디 찍자 니들 배나 저거 소소로 너바 개겐디 너바 개바 딜라 때는 아니 너바 개바도 코로나 누구도 somla ngala pengido samsange samlodo khotoba ina di yende de simba ina ana dila mideba 중화 임바 ina 니지 개 용그래 로아 dila 대화 중화 ina 가zo 용그래 가서 디 가서 샘디는 녀지 녀기 딩마지 샘디는 가서 연대 디 무유기 내지 심배 돈에 아니 무유 내지 심배 돈에 디 녀이 봐도 못해 디랑라 가서데 제바데 아니 지금 팬토고 여바도 못쳐온데 아니 소소로 너바 제바데 강사들 너고 여바도 못쳐온데 엔틀 니지 개준 것도 어디 렌데가 남자 약고지 심바이나 오 아니 그 소소로 너바 제바데 딜레 코나 무트네 동네 용하지온데 아니 딜레 니지 개 소소로 너바 제바디 딜레 때네 아니 나르게 소소게 레냐 바사와다 하고도 치존 레냐 바사고 비면도 삼사치에 아니 간사 로아다 간사 디 안너바 개발할 때는 나라 소바고에 구급 지은 것도 와 아니 동네 달린 거 소바고에 구급 지은 것도 오 다디 나라 구급 약보지를 샤삼서 쇠배 편유시 컨디님이 신원도 아니 간사들 닝지게 쇠배 연대될 때는 아니 간사들 아니 사천 거지 봐도 신 아니 된데라 때는 아니 콜라 동네 지나 미서 봐 콜라 디기 지나 가서 용해지 용거로 봐
Secondly, when we look into the harmer, the one who is engaging in the harm, that they are harming themselves when we see it like that. They are causing harm to themselves when we look at it from a karmic point of view. And therefore, when we see this, there is the great potential for benefit to ourselves when we apply compassion. It can really help to feed and to generate, to kind of like really blossom our compassionate, because we see the context of their engaging in that kind of harmful action, that it's going to be suffering for them kind of into the future. And so you generate that sense of compassion in relation to them. And that you also now have also that understanding that they are facilitating your being able to generate this beautiful sense of compassion. And that means that it's no longer possible for you to hold the mind of compassion with the mind of the disliking. And so you actually develop this sense of fondness and liking towards the very one who is harming. And so this is kind of recognizing that in fact they are a friend. They are somebody, as a friend does, bringing benefit, the benefit of you being able to really augment your compassion and develop your compassion. And so this is what we need to do, that when we really understand the karmic context very, very well, we can make these elaborations, and that this is extremely important. That somehow, from my point of view, it's kind of like from my looking into my karmic path here, definitely I have engaged in a negative karmic action in the past. I have harmed in the past. That's why this whole situation is arising in the first place, that there's somebody appearing to harm me in this situation. And that here, that I need to take, to be able to deal with this properly, I need to be able to willingly take on the suffering of this situation, and to understand that I have an alternative point of view that I can take on it, and that is to generate compassion for the one who is engaging in the harm, because I can see the suffering that is going to come for them. And that this changes the whole context of what's going on. And that here also, that not only when you take on the suffering like that, you see it as an opportunity for a more enlightened point of view, but also you can rejoice that this is something that is developing our patience. It's something kind of like you see the quality of patience in a whole new light again. And that it is the kind of like, and indeed the disadvantage of impatience and suffering that could be also a part and parcel of that. But you are gaining a much more subtle appreciation for the kind of like, and putting a higher value on your patience, because now you are you are responding to that situation in a much more enlightened way.
或者当然这感觉这个subject 可能国族对呢或这个控制你们随便偏送过多啊控制你们的其他话是多哈国说呢 아니 간사 내기근데 컨디 시원도 주고 요번 인사 아니 디디데네 아니 컨디 시원도 주반데 코란 예매 가르가르 사고도 하고도 라 컨디 시원도 주반데 예바 가르 사고도 아니 딜라데네 다 뭐죠 케두근데 경매두근 임바 인사 아니 디가서 케두근 경마도바 임바 인사 아니 케디 가릴 때는 것도 어서 말 때는 것도 서대 아니 세배 연대데 그데 세배 연대데 그 심바이나 아니 그 저거 가서데 다 저 가서데 뭐유 내주 투버토네 아니 대외 유튜브 투와 뭐유 내주 투버토네 동네 주방도 봐 정도도 와
So here, that based on the outline here, we can see that what is being again pointed out is the disadvantages of anger and the benefits of patience. And when we see in the first instance the disadvantages of anger is that on the one hand we lose control, isn't it? Even in relation to ourselves, when we think back on our situations, we lose control, and then all that the negativity that arises from that, you know, you kind of like really, it's a whole bunch of negativities that can follow on from that. But with patience, you know, we are able to take the benefits of, take the profit of the situation and avoid the loss of the situations. Patience is really marvelous in that, and it's also, you know, through the really our understanding of the actuality of the situation, and that is putting it into its karmic context, etc. That through the actuality we are able to avoid the disadvantage or the suffering that arises from anger, and through the actuality of the situation we are able to establish the benefits of the causes that lead to happiness.
아니 저 컨디 시원도 전에 공부식 전부 인사 그 남장 제출의 연구할 때 이내 좀세 먹고 삼로단 좀세 삼로단 로다가 이제 셰바 삼로 참마샤 왔잖아. 최종의 시랍들 참마샤 왔잖아. 아니 양나도 아니 저 가서래 삼종의 시랍게 삼로단에 다 삼종의 시랍게 개토바 이 교환해 봐 중거든. 롭조 제 최종의 시랍되게 냠내라 핑거 말해. 니주 시에를 팽그래 제세자를 팽그래 이내야 다 가르고 그러스나 최종의 시랍 딜라tam라 참마샤잖아 야나 양도 아니 삼종의 시랍 깨토 받잖아 야나 양도 삼로단에 아니 세배 배우 근데 용단데 근데 연구도 아니 콘도 사와이나 아니 콘도 님이디 삼로단에 내가 근데 연구도 아니 저게 아니 대 무트네 아니 가서 남인게 저보다 아니 가서 대 남인게 저보 아니 자바규데 녀와규데 단델로서 봐 근데 연구도 자 네가 가서 산지가 소와 말다 네가 뭐유게 내소래 내저 로래 아니 네가 근데 연구도 저와 근데 차기도 네가 삼로다 아니 덴데 딜라 녀바 땡수바지 녀바이나 아니 되네 다 가자 저 라네 가일라다 가세 매워 준 거와 아니 되네디 아니 삼종의 셔라고 니바들라 아니 녀바 니베 되는들 아니 검종의 세도 되네 검네 아니 다가서 무슨도 또 받지 들어와 제르와 와다다 디제도 아니 사람과 또 받게 돼 준 거와 좋아 되네 임바인사 뭐저 다다데 낭도릭과 장스 신스근데 코지게 장거 여성의 신스这个 지금特上公司야마这把嘛这把人或信徒嘛的他上公司야마这把接图把人把人真的我那真的这个新个有是现实个的他才下啥中国的话我说吧我的这
So of course for us as beginners, it's difficult, isn't it, that you know, when something arises, anger comes to the fore. It's kind of almost at the instantly, And this is because we are so habituated to this way of thinking. There's nothing else that is fueling that kind of the rapidity in which anger can be there, can arise, kind of fully inflamed as well. And so, but when we begin to actually question that and see how harmful that it is and apply reasoning again and again and again, reasoning, going back to the reasoning, so why is it that we have to, do we really have to react in this way? Is there a better way of doing things? And reasoning will really start to inform our choices. And here is where we generate the wisdom arising from learning, whereby we gain the kind of the understanding of the situation. But we must apply the wisdom arising from contemplation on top of that. It's not enough just to rely on the texts and just on data that we accumulate from our learning. And so the wisdom arising from learning must be complemented by the wisdom arising from contemplation. And that really means that we bring analysis into the equation, where we really are seeking out the logic and the reasoning behind what we hope to apply, what we hope to practice, and to kind of really understand that if we don't do that, then there can be no real change. But when we actually apply that level of wisdom arising from contemplation, we will reach a point where there will be transformation, real transformation, that won't be just temporary, but we will be able to really integrate it into our lives. And that is very, very important for us to kind of see what approach we should take as beginners. And so when we understand the kind of the terrible kind of consequences of anger, how it is so disadvantageous because of not just the ripening effect in where we will be reborn, but also the way in which we will be attuned or habituated to generating anger so easily again in the future, and also to being the victim of anger as well. It will be around us in our future lives as well. All of these are the kind of karmic results of a life that is so habituated to anger. And then, of course, there's the environmental result as well, that is dictated by, it can be very much dictated by how frustrated and how angry we are likely to get on a regular basis. And so therefore, we have to reach a point of absolute conviction where we go, okay, I need not only to dismiss anger as a choice, for this frustration as a choice, but to rejoice in the practice of patience, that we have such conviction that we are delighted to be able to take on the suffering, to also always abide in patience. And when we are able to do that, we'll reach kind of through again and again and again, habituating to that really transformative response. We will reach eventually this point of what's called wisdom arising from meditation, and that's the point of realization. And in the great text, it always talks about practicing these three of the wisdom arising from learning, the wisdom arising from contemplation, and the wisdom arising from meditation in unison, in conjunction together. And so it's so important that to bring about that sense of definite transformation in our lives. And that this is the way in which we can do it.
Ola so ordinary chen da ganje je shen dewa de ran de gyocha gi duwa ro di dewa cha de gi duwa ran da shen se ge de ro dewa cha de gi duwa.
And so this makes the connection between the importance of the other's happiness and our own happiness. It's that the road to having happiness for others and happiness for ourselves as well.
그 대화 차대기도 하다 어떤 간자 저기 디임에서 다 간자 저기 시행게 대화 중화대 아니 랑게 대화 중화대 아니 랑게 와스콜 간사 현재 랑라 팬도가 있는 다 내기게나 가야 개발 말에 간사대 대화 되게 동의미 되봐 이제 좀 전도 전에 아니 간사들 대화 중나 랑 가고 해야지 간사대 동의 주나 랑 미가 어주나 아니 대화 침묵이 냠내 지게 천이도 상황 거로 와 right? Because na, shela pemba tuko jumsen shamba kaya ma dewa tuje dunga mitwe be chiris tagarangwa. Dewa dugo yore, dunga dugo yomare. Dende imba za dunga setup chigo sta, dewa tuptap chigo ite tanga zo lingye resigo arwa.
And so that when happiness arises for the other person. And that we are happy for that, and that when whether it's kind of for us to the other is kind of like engaging in harm towards us or benefit towards us, it does not change our attitude. We see that they are beneficial. They are someone who is kind of helping us, beneficial towards us. And we don't make that the very strong distinction between whether they're harming or helping. And so when we can see it all as something which is helpful and beneficial, that there is the kind of, that makes you a fully qualified Mahayana practitioner.
Okay.
And that's very, very important. And that, because we're going back to the fundamentals in that we all want happiness and no one wants suffering. And that when we are taking on the Mahayana ideal, that becomes not just a kind of a piece of information, but we take that on as a fully fledged commitment, and that we are there to bring about the happiness of all sentient beings. We are there to remove all the suffering of sentient beings.
대화 되게 동의미 되봐 이제 좀 잘했네. 대화 주고다 동의 세고지. 순구 열바다 디토나 삼로 디토나 레고 열바. 근데 임바인자 아니 대화 근데지 말이야. 내가 그 대화 있네. 다도 그 대화 임바다 인데면 심지어 담제 다도 그 디기지 마도는 내가 대화디 아니 그 가서다다 내가 그 대화대 교회 동의 임바서 그 동의 차대기 위해서 다그 타도 그 디기 시주고도 쓰고다 다도 그 내가 두게 디기 대 고해져와 다 내가 그 디기 도와들래 제수 일하자 랑게 내가 디기 주투에 그거도 주 랑게 좀 하도 봐 있네 셴들 디기 중도도 오다 야고 시부 중사 문에 저는 예랭게랭 심지어 탐제 내가 다 타도 그 디기 탐제 두바 지금 쓰라고 요 아니 예 두고 예 두모고 가사 코랑 니샤다 야고 시부 중사我的 저는这个 가와콤 제수 일하자 되는 제가 이나더는 아니 군에 저 가서라 아니 샘쟁의 된주에 누가 숙체도 체도 쪽으로 와 샘쟁의 된주에 먼저 단다 샘쟁의 된주 가서 좀 하도 먼저 튕겨 상금도 와 아니 돈대 소속에 지라 디기 준데 어느 소속에 차도 장아제자 막아오잖아 돈대 샘쟁의 된주에 누가 충도 딴 것도 누가 체도 조금은 와 들에 제수 이나잖아 누가 체도 조금도 와
And so that's from the point of view, from the Mahayana point of view, what's our emphasis here? Is it on the temporary happiness or the ultimate happiness of all sentient beings? It really does not matter. If there's a choice, of course, we aim for the ultimate happiness of sentient beings, but of course, temporary happiness is also necessary, and therefore it's part of our commitment. And so it's something from our point of view where we really should rejoice in whatever happiness others are experiencing, and to see that as something that, oh, that's actually my commitment to bring about that happiness for them. This is a great result then. So therefore, I rejoice in their happiness. And so to use that sense of reasoning too, and that to see all of this as a part and parcel of increasing that sense of responsibility we have for fulfilling the purpose of others. And that should become more and more and more greater as we go on. We want to kind of like really to become a fully qualified Mahayana practitioner, where that is to the forefront of our mind always, and to be able to choose the response that is increasing our capacity to work for the benefit of all others, not anything that is going to decrease that capacity, such as jealousy in relation to others being happy, etc., etc.
Taniba Shen Deve Juimba Yinsa, Juimbe, Midoba Miriba, Shen Deve Juimba Yinsa, Ta Midoba Miriba de la Nietzsche, Shen Dewa Midona, Rangi Dewa Number Juwasa, Shen Dewa Madomana, Midoba, di, Casa di Judi, Dendica Jutumne, and Soso like that, Karindogusa, Rangi Dewa Nyamba Juresta. Nyamba Juresa, and Niba the Dena Shen Dewa de Report, that Dende Yimba Yinsa. Dende yimba yinza ta dewa nyaba jugu yinza ta dewa nyamna digu marwa dende yinza ane shen dewa an dewa da dewa da dhubtuba chigura dewa rigba wocha sabje nicha ta tangbo dila shen dewa mido na rang dewa nyaba juba dila zawa lesa shen zawa le shen deda dejur she gede kyude di mido langen chiso pangbe che
And so the second of those subheadings previously was that it is incorrect for us not to want, not to kind of accept when others create the causes of happiness. And this has 2 points. That is that if we do not accept others' happiness, then that is something that degenerates our own happiness. And secondly, it is right to want happiness for others. And verse number 78 deals with the first point, that being that if we have, we cannot accept happiness for others, then that degenerates our own happiness. Verse number 78 reads, "It is said that others are made happy through being praised in this way. But if in this way you do not want them to have this happiness, then, since it makes them happy, you should cease giving wages and the like to your servants. But you would be adversely affected both in this and future lives."
Juroshe, get a cue, Shen Doba de Dewa Miduna, Doba, Shen Doba Che, Soso, Madoba Chebaina, and Taco Sonda Chigbaredua. Sosola Doba Yongela, Shella Doba Kuba Chedo, Mahomba Soso Doba de Kuba Yonte, Shatikua. Chida Doba de Kuba, Chaksam Jana Tigmarta, Yinea, Goechua, Shen Dubal, Shen Dubala. Diga chaje chade do mi ge gabo che mi ge yuan dian tong ye mi ge yuan dian tong la pen ma to to ro pen do lap che wa che to ro ine ra yuan dian ge ming de de ba na ji den chu ge le chim ba de ine de la ma cha ba che na yuan de go go do go de ba ina pen do lap che wa che to ro wa da kan je de ma de ba ina ane ra la de tun ge de me ba cha to ro yes Pena Chashabana, Soso, Yobo Jobana, Yobo de la Laja Majeba, Laja Tata Matebaina, Lega Legal, Laja Tata Matebaina, Lega Tata Leg Marwa. The Lega Maleva Kala, and it can have a Tigrata, and Pena Company Koja, what you can have a chat with the good one. Pena Company Kashege, Legible Laja Tata Mateva, and Legible go down there, and the Kazas sort of Goja go that Legia good one. And Dilateneta. Because Chungjon Chila Tenet and it's a bush with the Jonra at there. 충충지 려마당하라 되네 아니 침부된데 경어라야 되네 영어 되기도 와 왔다 되네 왔다 통주라 되네도 와서 다 다가는 이제 아니 단단 거저 셰되발라 마고 마되바나 라래 마오발라 되발라 아니 가서데 되바된데 마용에 다다 되게도 튕게 되게도 마주와 되네 용거렸어 그래서 치만 그래서 되면 줘봐 통 그래서 로다 치만 되면 줘봐 마동아 치매 대화 냠바 줘다 단데 치마 되면 왔다도 통구 요 말때 이내야 어다 되게 돼 용을 했어 용 되게 됐어 뭐라 어디를 한다 마동 냠바 줘서 어디를
And so here it's talking about then, so the object of praise being the other, that it brings about happiness for them. But if you are don't accept that happiness based on others being praised, then it's like, you're, when you withdraw your wages from those who are working for you, that's going to create problems, for you. And in the end, that work is going to deteriorate. We've often heard it happen when in kind of companies and factories where there's been issues around pay. You will have protests, you will have strikes, you will have those leaving the job. And so it's going to create a much bigger problem from something that was much smaller at the beginning. And so it's like that. So it's the future for you as well. When you think that if you are so kind of resentful that you are not able to enjoy others being praised, then it's going to have negative consequences for you thereon in. You won't have conducive conditions, etc., in the future. And so it's here, it's kind of saying, really, on the one hand, it will have problems in the immediate now, and in the future, that which we can't see, it's going to cause issues about not being able to fulfill your purpose in the future as well. And so I'm saying it's a very unhealthy and unwise and choice to make, that we really ought to rejoice in the praise that others receive, because this is a good quality. It's kind of like, it's not something that, is based on somebody's clinging to a reputation, which of course is a worldly issue and therefore a negativity, but it's simply that others are being appreciated, and that therefore is something that we should also get in on and rejoice without any sense of attachment. Good that, when we see more benefit, when we are actually able to rejoice and to kind of rejoice in somebody else being praised, in that sense, that praise will increase that person's reputation and bring a more benefit in the future.
看这个sem家了偏把桌子sem家的这玩意过去过个多，这在这玩意过马中呢sem家了偏把桌都这么多，是吧？
So it's back to that situation of we're in the game of benefiting sentient beings, all sentient beings. To do that, you must make a good connection with sentient beings. That this is part and parcel of it. If we don't, then we're not able to bring benefit.
本来恰恰呢，我让就当的这个米贵大赛也去讲过人不起来，讲过人不起来的，南巴上马的，但这罗斯文那边去路用作了，讲过人就对吧？当然讲个多，去路用作个，俺俺偏头啊，当然偏头是吧？忙不了偏头就话的是，俺这个说的，去路用作个，俺原来觉呢。 아니 되게 다저 편바 줍다한테 아니 가서 뒤제 감다 매번 나서 와 인상 아니 되다 준비겠다 출루 민자고 거에 되게 편도 여당 안들고 아니 저게 출루 민자에게 아니 저게 안 되게 아니 되게라 구바다 지구를 제원데 감각에 아니 저 가서는 장모를 보셨어도 삼단이 뭐 창고도 와 지구를 연구도 와 다가네 최케 말린 게 정말 이네 아니 케 말린 거 정말 최케 램다 말 미강에 끌라다 저게 가서도 잠재도 야제 단위 개체 모르겠어. 최케 말려 가 요마 딜라 구지 정원도 네가 그가 했습니다. 뭐 창구도 와. 창구도 어제 미국 통대지로 와.
And so, we need look no further as the preeminent exponent of this ability to make connection than His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, who has throughout his whole life not just been a wonderful example to Buddhists, but more so even to all spiritual traditions, through His Holiness is making a connection with all the different spiritual traditions, because he kind of realizing, that now and in the future, there's this capacity to for them to really build, very positive qualities and so on, and for them even looking at the example of His Holiness is kind of also is something of an inspiration to so many from many different all the different spiritual traditions. And from His Holiness' point of view is also recognizing, of course, that there's a whole variety of disciples out there who can be brought forward in all sorts of a variety of different ways. Even those who have no spiritual tradition whatsoever, they still have an appreciation of love and compassion. And of course, they kind of look to His Holiness as the kind of preeminent exponent of those qualities as well. And so therefore,
secular tone,
yes, of course, His Holiness emphasizing secular ethics and so on, and bringing that more to the fore, where we all can take a responsibility without any sense of a religion attached to it. And so this is about really, again, bringing that connection, making that connection of people, more and more and more people feeling closer to somebody like His Holiness as such a wonderful example.
Melbourne Melbourne lama and Korang Chulu Chulu Legend Chulu Sheng Chulula Yunde Desam Jugumaris. Chulu Kangal Yunde Jugudos, Shenda Minda was.
So I remember, like some time ago, maybe in the 90s, His Holiness in Melbourne, and was really highly appreciated. And so there was Genla himself met with a Christian minister, priest in Melbourne.
Melbourne Bishop
maybe a bishop in Melbourne. And he took the opportunity in talking with Genla to really praise His Holiness. He said His Holiness is quite extraordinary in that, you find that other religions are very loath to talk about the good qualities of any religion other than their own. But His Holiness very freely and frequently really talks about the wonderful qualities of all the different spiritual traditions. They said that is quite exceptional. And so it's kind of really this process of bringing more and more bringing ourselves more and more close to more and more others for the purpose of being able to bring more and more benefit.
다 개치지 가서는 문에 전에게 semjega 된 두고 삼았다나 아니 세바 마고바 탐문도가 문에 전에 semjega 된 두고 삼아이나 소소로 팬도에 내바게 가에 개와면도 아니 되게 연내들라 제소이라 맞으나 탐문도가 담에 담가 면도가 문에 전에 semjega 된 두고 삼사이나 semje 탐제라 된 두고 삼사이나 아니 소소로 팬도가 연내다 내게고 연내 가에 개와면도 디 연내 죄고에 Yende Majova top making, Yende Tona Yende Majova top making, and Taganiche never can soba Magoba top making Jedua. Getting was a similar turn to go Samsa Yena, that turn to go Samsa Menani, and so the Devarwa.
And so when it comes down to it, in the purpose of really working for the purpose of all sentient beings, you have to accept one, that it cannot happen without patience. Patience is absolutely vital, and that those therefore, and in the context of in the kind of that practice of patience, again, we must rejoice in the good qualities of others. This becomes a part and parcel of it. It's kind of, there's no choice there. We must do it. And that, and when it comes to the good that is done by others, we must recognize it, rejoice in it. And when it comes to the harm that others do, we must develop patience. Again, as I say, patience must be the only choice that can be made. And that's our commitment to it. And so we have to reach that point where we go, okay, I'm rejoicing in all the good qualities of others. I'm being patient in the face of all harm. And I can't go beyond these two positions. And so that's the bottom line. And so again, as I said, then yes, of course that is, but what you do is up to yourself. So it's kind of saying, if you don't accept the importance of others, then of course it's up to yourself. But if you really accept the importance of others, of really benefiting others, then really you have no choice but to behave like this.
Yeah, what did it? So sometimes what did it?
So this is the way we should be thinking. And we leave it there for today. So again, we bring our minds to focus on the Guru Maninja Shakyamuni Buddha in the space in front.
다치나가 건데지만은 유대는 주바서 두산 영화 말해서 코다 줘봐 삼다 유대는 주바이네 땡고에 좀 세면도 땡바지래도 땡의 연구도가 땡의 연구도 그 유대는 주바 매바 다 줘봐서 코다 줘봐 삼다는 가자 가sam들 셈도 샤전 아니 땡데게 동반이 예배 그래서 로티 아니 님의 경고 약간 왔지 때문에도 내서 섬사 다 근데 이마 인자 다 심지 담제도 산제 고마 좀 어다 두베도 그 유대는 좀 매번 인자 로아 더 코아다 냥대 생각해서 유대는 좀 말해 코 주게 된데 초발 때는 정말 이마 인자 어다 심지 담제도 산제 고마 좀 이나 다 두베 된데도 그 유대는 마 좀 인자 때내 중앙 이마 인자 때내 이마 인자 어다 심지 담제도 산제 고마 두베 유는 마 좀은 다 싸우는 지금도 섬사자 심지 담제도 산제 고마 두고이 대한 뉴원이도 좀 도와지기 삼사가 로지게 된데그 듬바테 다외킹고 약강어 전에 아니 배매된도 와서 콘다 님에된도 내수 삼사고 지고 님에된도 내수 어디 공부하시 아니 받으세요 라마르 다게 지고 그래 구조토용으로 자도 순대 제와라 때는 담배 가서 배 니베 가서 쇼 스베 텐션 산제 고마도 제수 어디 공부하시.
So now we again bring our mind to the merit field in front and the figure of Guru Maninja Shakyamuni Buddha, and proceed to construct suitable seating arrangements on our own crown prior to inviting the Buddha there. And this begins by our contemplating on the pervasive suffering within the three realms of existence and the different kinds of suffering of all sentient beings there, leading to that sense of definite emergence of needing to attain liberation from that samsaric reality. And this then gives rise to, symbolized by the lotus mandala seat on our crown, and then how all inner and outer phenomena, regardless, completely empty of any inherent existence, they're merely imputed by thought, and merely arise in dependence, and cannot have any sense of independence. And so we reach that point of the mere object of refuting the mere object of refutation. And from that emptiness, then the sun disk mandala seat arises on our crown. And then following on from that analysis, because phenomena arise in dependence, how they cannot arise objectively in any sense, that they must arise in dependence upon cause and conditions. And this allows for everything, and especially for us to be able to lay down those causes and conditions to result in the state of enlightenment. That means that we can have such an aspiration as to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. We can have rest in certainty that if we establish all the causes of loving kindness, compassion, etc., that will logically lead to the generation of that mind of enlightenment, we can take an especially important sense of personal responsibility to set out to do that. I will attain that state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. And that is symbolized by the moon disk mandala seat. And then we issue the invocation verse thrice. So, glorious and precious root guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your great kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the space in front. At the end of the second, arrives at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third, we have the certainty that the Guru Buddha will remain with us until we attain enlightenment. And that is something that we rejoice in.
Lama Tubia Umboke, and what I'm going to Yala Tuba to the Sosa Tijanche, and it what in the Chevata, and it meant that you were pure at dinner, and it bet the Chuba to get the Bataki Cheso. That Marazu, Yabucheva, you know, Simjig to the Sanja Kumatu Chichavana, Sanja to give us you that Chuba the Dubecho Pidachua. What I did Tula Rangichibo, Lama Tubia Tula, and Dewato, Dewati Tombanya. Tombe Tewanya Tetonism Ishikesu, what the Kumbasha, what the Kumbasha to the Yabu, what in the chair. And it then Yanjo, Yanjo Kumbasha Joja, Kumbasha Joja on the, and it then again, Yavajo and Yanjo Lotte, and ranging Ning the Pamata Jecha Juso, some such. And it's now China, you don't do what Tuzan, you must quota, she was a Tombanya can't to Ranjo Quaka say you can't to the Samutan, but quota Chuba Samutan. What is that? And then Kacha comes up to the Semto Shachan, and then the Tomba Lotte, you make him what Yakawacho, Ning Pamata Jeta, the Neso, some such. That in the invited us, some Jetam Jago, Sanja Comato, Tuba Chickens at Koji Jordan. You didn't Matua Yinza, and got 10 Juma in Baza, you get the 12 to give you what the did the Chico and a Toasha Mida Jordan. That in the invited, oh, Sanja Comasing to do. To give you about that has some sound in the middle. That in the invitation, that's such a commodity, Tamado, some such what they are new to Tubachi, Southern Combustion, and then they get to Bati, directing when Yaka, Juna Pandesa, Lama was a target, Ningapim, the country Kuso to Jongo, so she were Lama to Yambo, so at the Walatan, and a Tambuka Sota, the second number, my interrangichibo, March, Niva comes to shoot, Sumberco, Sanja Comato, which is also sons of Kawa. And then running Bemata, the cartoon, and being net on the shit, take a logic of Sanga, Chekaja, Kate, the Tagodom, to Betsinga, died of Monument Marvelous, the Muslim Koto. Then Chizuja so Omarabas and Nati did the Muslim Koto. Then they go so over the one and the source of the Muslim Koto. What did the Jikomash?
So with the Guru Buddha on our crown, we offer the 7 limbs of practice and the mandala offering. And here it's in relation to the purification of negativity and the accumulation of positive merit. If we have the time, it's really wonderful if you can do the 7 limbs of practice individually, each in turn, going through the offering, the purification, and so on, the rejoicing, and do it in some detail. That would be most helpful. If not, then to recite the single verse related to the 7 limbs of practice and then the mandala offering. And that here, then we begin the process of establishing the seating arrangements on our own heart center by again reflecting on the suffering in a cyclic existence and how we must gain a definite sense of emergence from there, developing that renunciation that is symbolized by the lotus mandala seat. And again, how all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence. Again, reflecting on that for a moment, where we reach that point of the mere negation of the object of negation, that there is no objective existence, even at the atomical level. And from that emptiness of that existence arises the sun disk mandala seat. And again, through our contemplation just gone, we understand that phenomena therefore arise independence, and that means that they cause and conditions can give rise to all possibilities, and indeed the possibility of enlightenment itself. And so we have extra assurance that when we have the aspiration to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, that we can know that that can be built on a logical basis of cause and condition that will lead to that result. And so we again generate that sense of urgency and responsibility that I must be the one to quickly attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. Then the invocation verse: O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness, bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the figure moves from the crown down into the central channel. At the end of the second, arrives at our pre-prepared seat at the heart. And again, at the end of the third, we have the certainty of Buddha remaining there until we attain enlightenment ourselves. We can rejoice in that possibility. The petals of the lotus fold over and are sealed at their tip by a white 5-pronged semi-vajra. And then the lotus package is surrounded by 3 mantras: the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, and the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination in a clockwise direction.
아니 랑게 닝게 그서 라마 투야 뭐 내와데 안 집어내 간데 발로 왜세트 왔는다 왜세트 루탄젤라 파참네 아니 저 가서라 토마메반 디바데 캬바도야 아니 가서라다 지금 소주와 마저와 미상와 저 준타마 저저 가젤라 나선데서 로다로서 다가 제베 칸나마다 라제가 파나마도 녀바 쳇딜라 근데 싸바 생가마 디가마 토마메와 녀바 근데서 봐 빠짱지 따바 중수 선서자 다도도 답변을 쳇딜 생가마 되고 토마메와서 지금 뭐저 도바켈레바데 소다가 도바켈레바 녀바 근데서 자주스면 도바켈레는 녀바 근데서 상하게 다 온라소바 쉬네 아니 냠네 따다 맞제네 담세 냠자치 말라소바 드네 녀바 근데서 근데 도나다 지금 타바다 탐지침에 그 라이다 계속 교회에다 녀바 진이 사바데다 탐지 바다 상지 따바 중소 삼사자 아니 나도도다 지금 산제 고마주발라 류대당 거래 아니 류기 아니 교연거래 류다 셈기 견작 류대당에 봐 셈라 동네라서부터 지 견작 가려봐도 류생가 강에 가려봐 마찬가지 다수 삼자 그러다 자롱 틀에 교연거래 좀 마찬가지다 아니 냠바도 쇠 호텔의 중소사 다 라도도 뉴도 산제 고마토벌에 객치셔도 탐에가 나셔이 뭐서 탐에가 나셔 교연 탐자 간 다네 간하탄데 딱바람 잡아지 차도 다 야고 시우 중소 서서 공부하셔
And so that's something that I omitted from the last piece was at the end of our 7 limbs of practice and offering of mandala with the Buddha on our crown. And of course, that all of our positive intention and practice in that regard does not go unnoticed by the enlightened beings. And so as a result of that, we can understand the Buddha feels this sense of delight and bliss in the mind, and that combines with voidness, and they abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And we have that understanding at that point. Now, from the Buddha at our heart center within the lotus, that light rays begin to emanate from the Buddha's body and permeating every point of our bodies, from the crown of our heads to the soles of our feet, and purifying all negativity that we have accumulated since beginningless time, and all negativities associated with the 10 non-virtues, all the negativities that are naturally occurring, negativities of that proscribed by the Buddha, all negativities associated with this life, of the one previous to this and the one previous to that, going back to all lives that we've had since beginningless time. And we really feel that this purification process is highly effective. How all the generations of our 3 vows, the Pratimoksha, the Bodhisattva, and the Tantric vows are purified. All of this is completely, I mean, absolute certainty that's completely and utterly taken off of our mind-body system and absolutely eradicated. That all of the sickness of our body and mind that causes debilitating obscurations to our being able to engage in spiritual practice, that's all purified as well. That's all completely cured. Any degeneration of our 4 elements and our of the channels, winds, and drops are regenerated and rebalanced, and that all of this is completely and utterly purified. And in particular, there is an emphasis on the biggest obstacle to our being able to attain enlightenment quickly, being our ordinary appearance. That is now completely transformed into pure appearance.
What is it? Rangi Shindo Travel Lung Nielenche. And Lama Shaja Singer good Lenji chicken, and social lead Lama Shaja Singer, Kula Jusu, Samsacha. But Tazo Maba Patu Samsa Kumashiwata, Jusu, Samsamcha. And social Shindo Travel, 7 Nielenche, Lama Shaja Singer 2, the Lenji chicken, and social some the Lama Shaja Singer 2, Jusu, Samsa. Ta Rangi Lunga is Lama Shaja Singer Kusutungo, Yemen Jusu. Samsa, what in the Kumbasha. And Wanda di dewate, deo tomba detonisme ishi kesu sansa kumbachen, takma meba ijigu suru pa kumbash kesu samsa hotelcha. Rangi nesa ge nyo diga nyo gyon tamja tena lama shaja singe dawe shidu jusu samsa. Rang lama shaja singe kule juwa, de ane kaso de kulu juwa di, ane tuga ta kulu juwa de tuga de lama cherese kaso konda lama shaja singa pado meba tuene semje ga jangda nyama pa tuene semje deda tanja lama shaja singa chasangwa rede timbala tene deda tanja geje ga lama shaja singa kulu jusu samsacha deda ga nesa ga neta nyawa ida tudu ta kanja milhal hama ila sobe ta kanja tuwa ridu ga neta ta tanje nega kyon tamje tene lama shaja singa tabe shidu jusu samsacha Wata simja tamja gato sanje koma tuke sada nima tirin tuk tosu sono kago simja tamja sanje koma nima tirin ko tosu sangwa ta simja tamja sanje koma lo koba ti chedo suzu kewa kare tuba te tuke soso de cheba koba yuden de tuba dusa yoga mare san nala rashime ba koma sha yuden tuba dusa yoga mare toba palta zamre na dusa yoga mare san wati dewa te ane dewa di ki ane dewa di 동방에 동바디 대왕년 대통령 수매 이시 계속 서서 공부하지 셈도 샵 어떻게
And then through the combination of my own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of the Buddha. And then through my own most subtle mind or consciousness acting as the substantial cause, together with the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. Now I see my whole body, speech, and mind as completely indivisible from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being. I rejoice at this point. I experience that bliss which combines with voidness and abide momentarily in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. Then, seeing myself as lacking any objective existence and any inherent existence whatsoever, I send out countless rays of light equal in number to all of the beings in the 6 realms of existence, and that upon touching them, the light completely pervades their entire bodies, and they are automatically transformed into fully enlightened Buddhas. And then the fault of their place of being, be it in the hell realms or the hungry spirit realms or the human realms or the animal realms or the asura or the celestial beings in the desire realm, and that all of this is completely purified of fault and transformed into the pure realm of an enlightened being. And this is something that then I can completely rejoice in. It's so wonderful that today is the day in which I've been able to fulfill the purpose of all sentient beings. I completely rejoice in this, and I can see then that I have understand that that this process of leading all sentient beings to the state of enlightenment, the virtue that has facilitated that, myself as the agent of that virtue, we all are completely lacking in any objective existence, that we are merely imputed by thought, to try and really focus on that momentarily, that there is completely imputed by thought, lacking any objective existence. From that then can arise the bliss that combines with voidness, and we abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And even at the aspirational level, if we can experience this for a few moments, it would be very auspicious.
All of them. Ore, da tende meba yije wone da ganja samlo tang rungune korang da tende lela bu jo marwa da kaina mena da tende samlo tang wa tene wa da tende yongye ki ani kaso re da tende drup tuye ki ani je kaso re da je kaso de sabele mesele da gu yoro ho da tende ko be me se ge so lap chim bo sa ge wa da ya bu shu chung re derin ge ngozo shoge de danda temba chabare meaningful chabare da tende yin da ganja o da dendeji 용의 심제 탐제 산제 사고 라니 산제 사마도 타변도 디토발라 돈이 닌지 닌보지게 람 귤레게도 돈이 장주에서 돈이 또 베셔라니게 람 귤라 맞게 타면도 다디게 다 근데세고도서 다 먼저 사나 조나 투나 데나 다 근데 근데지 내단 근데지 봐야 누구 중에 자 기부 중에 자 경고 차바이네 자 나사 좋아인데 타마 치바이나 단 내단 그래서 차와 임바 있네요. 장주가 셈게다 돈이 또 베셔라게 탑시지 다 탑시 여와등에 란렌가 도바지기 깽에 람도 캐도바지기 있어. 와다 담자 샤자는 칸투도 제투에 제. 다 개치시래. 어디래.
And of course, yes, we're operating at the level of imagination, and that our aspiration here, but when it comes to our motivation, or sorry, our dedication now, we really have to bring our thinking to bear, that we kind of will be able to make this a reality, dedicating it forward to that purpose. That here we are laying down definite seeds for powerful seeds to actually really facilitate this actually happening for us into the future. Not only that, but we are certain that it is made this morning, just this brief time, something very, very wonderful, very, very powerful for us. And that's so very, very important. And that we see how essential it is to bring those minds of emptiness and in the mind of enlightenment, kind of marked by compassion into every moment of our lives. It's something that we have to do, that whatever we are doing, whenever we are doing it, whether we are, in a happy state of mind, in a suffering state of mind, or whether we are sick, or feeling our age, getting old, or even at the point of death, we kind of like say, I will not deviate from being able to interpret and perceive every moment through that emptiness and through that mind of enlightenment, and really vow to ourselves that this is the way I will definitely make it. This would be a great result from this morning.
lai so
You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapatni, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception, Tsongkhapa, crown, jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Losang Drakpa, at your feet I make requests.
That's what Toche, thank you.
Awesome.
Everyone
Thank you,
take
Genla.
care.
Sukhshana.
Thank you, Genla. Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.